My husband and I, we both run our own businesses, and our income is not just, 3 months pay slip, here you go, which is really difficult. If this is something you really want to do, then make it happen, because you're only going to regret not trying it. But I suspect that the type of people that do self-builds often are people a bit like us, probably attracts people who are, slightly more inclined to risk.
Welcome to the Self Builders Podcast, the podcast that covers everything you need to know to get on the way to building your own house. We're brought to you by Mayflower Mortgage and Finance, the self-building finance specialist in the UK.
So, hello and welcome back to Self Builders Podcast, brought to you by Mayflower Mortgage and Finance. I'm your host again, Jack Dugan. And the reason why we've gone on this podcast is to talk through with self-builders about real life projects, good bits, stressful bits, and everything in between. Today's episode, I'm excited to be joined by Rebekah, who has kindly agreed to come on and share their self-build journey, how it started, how it's going, and sort of where they're up to now. So Rebekah, start at the beginning. Can you introduce yourself and tell listeners a bit about sort of where you were in life when the idea of self-building first came about, and what was the original motivation, really?
Well, so we live on a farm, and actually the council selected some of our land here to potentially do a big development. And that land, they had a few different pockets that they selected in our village, and in the end they decided to develop somewhere else in the village. However, it kind of begun this idea that actually it was land that was viable to be built on. It was very close to the development boundary. We're just adjoining the development boundary, and so we kind of started spiraling with this idea that maybe actually we could build on this land, and we got a planning consultant in. Because also on our farm here, we've converted a lot of the buildings here into commercial lets. So we've got a dog groomer and a cafe and a hair salon. So it also made sense for us at that point to try and improve the access to the site. So that all kind of came into one in that, we wanted to build on this anyway, and then, improve that. So that's where it started.
Amazing. And in terms of the sort of the commercial side of things, so how many residential sort of units have you got on your land now versus commercial, or is it
on the on the whole farm, or
on the whole farm?
On the whole farm. So we've got, typically the buildings, they are sort of old Victorian buildings, and the top has got flats in and the bottom has got commercial lets, and we've got a more modern agricultural style building out the back as well. So in all, we've got 12 business lets and 3 domestic lets. And then there is also the main dwelling sort of quite close by as well. So there's quite a bit going on here.
A bit going on. And planning permission is often where people get their first reality check right at the start. So how did you find it? How was that? Was it straightforward? Was it challenging? Was it what you were expecting?
It's so hard. It's so hard because what happens is you start, and then before you know it, you're 10 or 20 grand in, and you think, I have to make this work now. I can't make this not work. But they throw these other regulations and these other things at you, and sometimes they haven't come down to actually see the site, so they don't know what you're talking about, and trying to get that across. But also, obviously, you feel that you have to be very beholden to these people because they're making a decision, and I think for them often, like, this is just a small development, but for us it's like a make or break, massive life-changing thing. And I think there's a gap between understanding the gravity of how this affects a small self-builder like ourselves, and even though it's not a big development to them, it's so impactful to us. The planning is, I would say, the hardest bit, and to grit your teeth and keep going when they ask for another survey. And every time anybody digs up the ground, it costs between £1,000 and £5,000.
Yeah, it can be a sort of a drawn out stage, especially when you've not.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point as well to make to everyone that's sort of listening, is that you do have to just sort of keep going. There is a disconnect. They sort of
Yeah.
forget the human element, don't they? The planning side of things of it. It's very cold or can be very cold. And the planning consultant from your side, were they sort of instrumental in it, or were you doing a lot of the heavy lifting yourself?
Yeah. No, they were great, really. But there were some things that, you think, you do this for a living. Why am I pointing out this? Do you know what I mean? But I think that nobody understands the land like you do. Nobody is as invested in it as you are. Therefore, they're not going to see it. Nobody understands your situation. And so they don't, it's really important that you don't presume that they have considered everything and that you question everything.
Yeah, I think that comes into us from the mortgage and the finance side as well. If something doesn't quite feel right, question it and don't sort of just
don't presume that
we do it from the lender side separately, or something that you're the expert, it's your land in that respect, so sort of push back for it. And when did you start the planning applications? When would that go in?
So that went in, with the consultant, obviously it was March 2020, but the actual application probably went in, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months after that. So it was obviously not long before COVID, which was another thing to throw at you.
Another spanner in the works, which caused chaos around the world and for everybody's individual developments as well.
And we actually really got, we applied for outline for new entrance, coming off the existing entrance, a new road, and 4 self-built dwellings. And that took about 14 months to go through. There's a lot of back and forward and a lot of, environmental stuff because of the over-regulation. And then we were allowed to build up to damp-proof course. But we had to obviously apply for the details, etc. So, it was a really long process to get.
Yeah, it can be. And is there anything, like, looking back now, would you do anything differently at that stage, or do you think it went as smooth as it could be, but just with gritted teeth and determination?
I mean, no, I think. No, I think there's so much that I didn't know and I didn't understand, and they have so many long words that you don't understand. It would be a lot easier with AI now, and I'd probably
it's like dig out the thesaurus and have a little flick through. Is there more?
It was. It was. I probably would have tried to be just a bit more confident in asking questions and saying, no, this doesn't look right, and really standing behind what I knew in my gut. But the actual process itself, I don't think you could really do much.
Okay, so be confident, rely on what you know, ChatGPT it, and and rely on those with expertise.
Just ask loads of questions, and and annoy people with your questions, because it's better that you'll pick up things. And the crazy thing is that you might pick up something or realise something, and it will save you like thousands of pounds. Because it's such big money we're talking about with building houses. So, if you catch something small, it literally could save you like $5,000.
There really are no stupid questions when it comes to sort of that self-build process. Probably moving on to a little bit about money, a little bit more sort of budgeting, costing side of things. So, I mean, at the start, how confident were you that you sort of understood the true cost of the build and you had that sort of budget locked down?
One of the things that really, really frustrates me, and it still happens now, is you go and you ask professionals or builders or whatever, and you're like, how much is this going to cost? And nobody really wants to commit to anything. And I understand, because there are so many unknowns, there's so many things that go wrong, and it's a long process. Like, if you look at inflation since we started, it's crazy. But it is so frustrating, because there's all these men that you talk to and you try to get like a real understanding, and nobody will commit to anything. And then when you do get quotes, they can be wildly different, and it's hard to not believe that somebody's trying to fleece you. But then you realise that actually this one's quoted for this, which was slightly different, and this one's quoted for this. And the hardest, because then sometimes I'd then go on to like these Facebook groups and be like, oh, this is what I've been quoted for this. And every time there'll be some guy that's like, Sorry, I can see I'm ranting now. There'll be some guy that's like, oh, he's taking you for a ride. He's completely overcharging you, and then it makes me question everything. But actually, it's just some guy that probably doesn't actually do a great job. He hasn't actually seen what you're asking. And so I just ended up chasing my tail, and it was.
Don't read the comments. That's the negative and positive.
Yeah,
Don't read the.
I know, but everyone always reads the comments.
Oh yes, dead easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And was there sort of cost that didn't make it into original budgets? Anything that sort of anything fees, surveys, groundworks, did anything sort of crop up that you weren't expecting?
So the hardest thing is the groundworks are the worst part of the process, really. Because there's so much unknown. You dig up the ground, and they're like, our ground workers actually dug it up, and they were like, oh, I don't think you're going to need to pour too much concrete. But then the structural engineer didn't want any responsibility whatsoever, and still made us pour loads of concrete. And then you feel like you're questioning, and then like, well, is the structural engineer being reasonable? And you get through this whole thing. But the budget was all right for that, but there was so much unknown with it. And what we ended up having with our site is our plot basically came serviced, but I was very much involved in, like, separately in the arranging the services for the whole site, and that went wild, absolutely wild, because we had to dig up 150 metres worth of road. We had to completely close the highway and to put a new main in. And the council got upset when we started digging, because they said we couldn't dig under these trees, even though it was kind of, and it went wildly out of. So I would say, if you are building on a plot which has already got the services in, huge amount of unknowns have been cut for you, and it's a lot easier. But then there are other things as well. So we've decided to do some big vaulted ceilings, which look so great. And we've put like gabled ends in with lots of glass, but then suddenly that means actually we have to have electric blinds. And then somebody came and quoted me $5,000 for electric blinds. And that's like not something that you thought about. And I'm like, I'll put a sheet up. I'm not dealing with that. And then like the plastering, which we're doing at the moment, the cost of our plastering is huge because
such a big site.
The amount of time that they're having to spend. They've got to have scaffolding. It's a really big job. It's not just normal ceilings that you'd normally have. So there are things like that you don't think about. You think that are later in and then it suddenly comes and you're like, oh yeah, I haven't considered that.
It's not one big thing, but just lots of little things adding up throughout each.
Yes.
Each stage.
Yeah.
And I know funding a self-build is very different to sort of standard residential mortgage. Do you remember sort of how you felt approaching that side of things? Sort of excited, overwhelmed, confused, or was it?
So, my husband and I, we both run our own businesses, and our income is not just 3 months pay slip, here you go, which is really difficult, and it's really frustrating because the banks view us with more caution, and I've spent the last few years trying to ensure and paying lots and lots of tax, because you can only borrow against what you pay tax on. Trying to ensure that I could present a set of accounts which looked secure and that ticked all their boxes. And that was quite daunting for us. But I suspect that the type of people that do self-builds often are people a bit like us with our own businesses and that, because it probably attracts people who are, slightly more inclined to risk.
Yes.
So that was quite stressful, and I really, I'm still trying to ensure that we've got really strong set of accounts to be able to present for as soon as I've got that completion certificate, to just have a normal mortgage like a normal person, which would be an absolute dream.
Yeah, so the background and the stage payments and having to go through.
Yeah, it would just be so nice to be normal like that for once. But to be fair, Mayflower were great.
That's a bit would page you to say. That's the That's what I was getting at. That's what all these questions have been for.
No, honestly, they were, because I was at the point where I was so fed up of filling in just forms about all of this, and they really helped me. I think it was it Lee or was it Lee?
Yeah, Lee.
Yeah. He really had, because obviously the bank want like a forecast of how much everything's going to cost and all that, and he really helped me with the heavy lifting of that, because I was so fed up that people were asking me these questions still. He made that bit of that process so much more easy. So I am really grateful to him for that. Really responsive, always checking in. So genuinely, like, I haven't got anything, like, I couldn't say a bad thing about you guys, because you've been really helpful. And I think that when we have got completion, I will contact you. And I also appreciate, like, you guys are probably used to dealing with unusual people, like, in terms of our income.
We'll get back in touch and sort the other end out. So we'll leave that leave that there. But I mean, that's what we see all the time. So even well-planned projects that have got everything there, they can feel stressful. And money in versus money coming out, the stage releases. But that's what we're here for, and Lee's there for, to sort of make sure it goes as smoothly as possible. But moving back to the sort of build itself, so how did you sort of approach it? Was that main contractor, self-managed, mix of both? What was your...
So what basically, as I said, it was a development with four properties and a new road coming in. So we got some guys in to do the groundworks, and they did the groundwork for my plot, and my brother's actually living in one of the plots as well, so they did his, and they did the road, and they did the pump that we needed to pump the sewage up. So I decided to get all of that done with one contractor, and it was so hard getting a quote from that, because it was actually quite a big job for even small, like, for your normal sort of contractor to do, because of the amount of road that needed digging up and all of the licenses that were needed for that. So I decided to get all that done by one person. And then I've got a local builder to come in and basically build the shell of my house. And then once the shell was up, my husband and I have been able to do parts of it ourselves. So, you know, the boarding, the insulating, some of the stud work. So, but I've also had that same contractor who I really like and trust. He's doing the plastering for us, and he's done the underfloor heating. So there are other bits and pieces. So the further through we get it, the more my husband and I have been taking over it.
Oh, amazing! What surprised you most once you got stuck in when you were on site? What was there a particular phase that felt the most intense or difficult, or was it just
the groundwork?
The groundwork, like I said before.
It was definitely It was in February. It rained so much that they had to pump, and also we misread one of the plans that the council wanted us to do, and we suddenly realised we had to put 20 grand's worth of, like, tanks under the ground with hydro brakes. And the trouble is, the groundsmen are like, this is complete over engineering, this is absolutely ridiculous, but the council have asked for it, so you have to do it. And so I just think, might as well have just set fire to like 20 grand. At least then it would have kept me warm. But I just that was really tough. But it was incredibly tough for us because we have a site here, like I said. So I've got cafe people coming down.
It's not just one residential dwelling that you've got to worry about.
Yeah, and they're all, like, upset because there's loads of building work going on. It's supposed to be a beautiful, quaint farm in the Somerset Levels, but you know, and you're like, oh, it's just temporary, and there's going to be a lovely new road for you, and you're going to have, you know, a nice big car park. But yeah, so dealing with that was particularly hard, that most self-builders probably don't have to deal with. But once you're out of the ground, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it gets. You can see it taking shape as well, and everyone else can see it sort of taking shape as well. It can help. And was there any mistakes that were made that maybe cost a bit of time or delays, or was it more just?
I am sure there have been loads of mistakes. I mean, I can't think of any that comes to my head right now. I'm really sorry, but
none that you're willing to admit to on a podcast. That's a paraphrase from the.
No, I make mistakes all the time, and I always think, God, I should have done that differently. But I'm sorry, I can't think of any glaring ones right now.
So if someone's sort of mid-build and feeling a bit stressed about theirs now, what would you tell them? What would be your bit of advice?
Well, you've come this far. The only way is through, and every day you'll get a little bit closer, and it will get easier. But like, this is life. You've chosen to do this. You've got to push through now. You're there. Like, what's your choice? Turn back. Just got to grit your teeth.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Keep. And everyone's telling me it will be worth it in the end. I'm I'm not at the end yet, so I can't tell you that that's true.
It will be. So your property itself. So what materials did you use? That's always one we get fussed. Was it sort of modern methods construction, eco, or was it traditional? What sort of?
No. So it's a traditional masonry build. We obviously talked about going timber or masonry. I spoke to loads of just random people and builders that I knew, and they were all like, "If you're going to live in that house, it's going to be your house. It should be masonry. Build it masonry." And I don't know if that's just a traditional thing, but anyway, I went with that mainly because of that. And then the place, our village, has got a lot of blue lyre stone, which is absolutely beautiful stone, and I love it, but it is expensive. But we have done the sort of road-facing elevations in blue lyre stone, and then we've got a mix of clad and render on the rest of it. So it's quite sort of village, quaint-ish. It's a reasonably big house, but it's still got that kind of quaintness. And
within its setting, it looks good within its setting. It's not standing out.
Yeah. I'm really proud of what some of the other houses are looking like as well. It feels like a really nice addition to the village, and we've got a view out across the Somerset levels. So we've gone really big on the windows that look out that way. We've got gabled ends, and they were really expensive, but you look at it now and I think, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's going to be my house. I keep thinking it should be someone else's.
And how you define sourcing the materials and stuff like that? Was that relatively easy? Or?
Yeah, so most of that actually has been through my builder, and he's even been really helpful in that even though he's not been doing the plasterboarding, he's still brought it in for me and done that. So it's great if you can find somebody that you can build a relationship with. And to be honest with you, whenever I need anything, I just say, "Where would you get this from?" And then he helps me out with it. So I've got a really strong relationship with him. So that's helped a lot.
It really helped. Amazing.
Yeah.
And bring it all back to sort of the positive side of things. Now what was I say? Before we go to that, where are you up to in your project now? So I know you're not quite finished yet, but where are you up to?
So we are plastering at the moment, yes. And we've got really high vaulted ceilings upstairs, which means the plastering's taking a long time. It's a lot longer than just a normal. So hopefully we will be able to start painting one of the rooms, I'm going to say in 2 weeks' time, which would be really great. But we haven't ordered the kitchen yet. We've ordered all of the bathroom bits, but obviously nothing's fitted yet. So it still looks like and feels very much like an ongoing project. But I hope that we will be painting quite a bit of it and fitting the kitchen sort of by the beginning of June. And that would be really good, because I am so excited about the kitchen. Not that, I mean, my husband does most of the cooking, to be honest, because I can't concentrate for that long. But yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Amazing. And so have you got a deadline in sight? So when have you got sort of is it Christmas? When's the...
If you ask my husband, he's like, by Christmas. If you ask me, I'm like, end of June.
Christmas then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that we would have completion by the end of the summer.
Okay, and is that all the whole development or just...
No. So my brother's house, he's pretty much got completion. Another house is already done and completely finished. And then obviously ours is partway through. And then the fourth one is still in the planning stages. It's quite a long way behind. Yeah.
So on the project itself then, so what was the biggest win from the project now that you're nearly there? Is there any sort of big wins that you thought, you said about the windows, but something that you thought, that is amazing, we've done well there?
Yeah, I mean, so...
Okay, this is why we did it moment.
It has to be at the moment when we walked in and we put in the kitchen, it's got a vaulted ceiling with a curtain wall window at the end, and it's just, and there's also windows in the vaulted ceiling bit, and it's just stunning, that bit, and it's got this views across the levels, and that is like whenever I walk in there I think, wow. And also upstairs we've done it so there's a Juliet balcony, and it's got the same view with a vaulted ceiling and a gabled end, and yeah, that bit's gonna be, and I've decided I'm gonna put a bath in the bedroom, which is a little bit rogue, but I just figure, like, why not? Yeah.
It's gonna be your forever home, is it, this one?
Yeah, hopefully.
Right, yeah, so yeah, do what you want.
Yeah, so that bit's when you walk into those two parts of the house, they're very like, as soon as the windows went in, the doors went in, and I started showing people, you could see them go, oh yeah, I see this now.
That sounds amazing. Is there anything you'd still like to improve or change, or because you're not there yet, you just want to get it done and worry about that afterwards?
Yeah, no, it's so hard until you've lived in somewhere to know the things that you've done wrong, which is obviously a shame. But yeah, so I know there's things like at the moment you're trying to think, oh, well, do I want this switch here? I don't know. And then I turned to my electrician and I'm like, well, what would you do? And so my electrician's like actually making choices like that, because I'm just like, I don't know.
They're minor. It's not like you change the whole structure or construction type.
Really
so
pleased
as long as it's just a light switch in the wrong place, or you get frustrated when you have to charge your phone from across the room. But apart from that,
exactly.
Sounds like it's gone pretty well to me. Right, what I'll do is I'll finish with a few sort of quick fire questions ish. Okay. That's all right with you. So first answers that come to mind: what was the best money you spent on the project?
I think it's going to be those windows.
Those windows. Worst money spent?
We're just pouring it into the ground.
Groundworks. Just the trauma of the groundworks. Keep coming back.
I don't think I'll ever forget that. You know when you look back on things and you think, oh, wasn't that bad? That's not happened.
Is there anything you would skip next time? So any part of the process or anything that you think you've done that's a little bit of a waste of time, or?
I don't think so, yeah. I think everything has been really necessary.
Brilliant. Best advice for someone still at planning stage? Have you got any nuggets of advice?
Do you really want to do it? No, life's really short, and if this is something you really want to do, lots of people are going to tell you that you shouldn't try and that you shouldn't do it, and they're just going to present a lot of issues as to why you shouldn't do it, even people that don't know. But if this is something you really want to do, then make it happen, because you're only going to regret not trying it. And don't listen to all these people who probably are essentially just jealous that you're trying to do something different.
Amazing. And best advice for someone who's halfway through a build? I think you might have already touched it on with a keep going.
You already have, like, the only way is through, so keep going.
Keep going. See, you don't get that sort of thing from Instagram or TV shows, do you? You need a bit more honest. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then the question always, would you do it again?
I don't know that I would, actually. Well, the thing is, you're asking me.
We'll ask you again when it's we'll ask you again once you've moved in.
I certainly wouldn't do 4 with a new roadway to an existing site that's got lots of clients and businesses that get upset with you. But maybe if it was just an individual plot like that, I might consider it. Yeah.
I go again. That's amazing. Now, Rebekah, thank you so much for coming on and being so open. Yeah. Hopefully this will help other people either in the middle of or starting their own self-build journey. So thank you very much.